Super
stuff.
Legacy Draft. What is going on, YouTube? Welcome in. For those of you watching the VOD, because we've just gone live, and I'm sure none of you managed to click the link in the quick second. So, welcome to the VOD. Thanks for joining us. You guys can resume talking now. You don't have to stop just because we're live.
I haven't updated the stats for Sons of Pitches yet, but I can say what the stats were for the three of us before last week. Thomas hitting 667, Nate hitting 615, and Brian hitting 833.
Definitely not hitting 615 anymore.
I'm definitely not hitting 833 anymore.
615? Were you like 5 for 7?
8 for 13.
He had 13 at bats with 8 hits. I call bullshit.
Nate? Before, yeah.
Before last week?
You weren't at the first game.
I wasn't at the first game. Were you raking in game 1?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he went like 4 for 5 in it, game 1 or something.
Yeah, game 2 or set 2 was very bad.
Yeah,
set 3 was very bad. Okay. Do either of you guys want to talk the Live Golf PGA thing? Any of you guys caught up on it?
I don't know anything about it.
I want to save it. I don't want to talk about it and hey, what you got?
Oh,
I want to talk about
zone?
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to read into it before I try to
Yeah, we can talk
actually have an informed opinion
Literally
about it.
just happened this morning. So.
Yeah. Well, like the original, the initial headlines were like they're merging. It's like, I don't think this is a merger. I think this is more of like a
Saudis are buying it out.
Yeah. Well, and competitive equity. Yeah. But we'll see. So yeah, when there's that kind of depth of backstory for sure, I definitely want to do my own research before I get too deep into it. But
there is something else actually that I want to bring up in hey, what you got?
Okay. Hold on. Here, let me. Hold on.
I'm not touching it.
What is this?
Wait, we're live streaming and I don't have. Wow, what a high quality streaming situation. Let me bring up our browser.
There, throw it in there.
All right.
There we go.
All right. I got to think about what it exactly is. So. That's probably not the right one.
Pigeons. Pigeons wasn't good.
Okay, I got the rando. Spoiler alert for those of you watching on the internets. I got the rando question from ChatGPT, and I thought of a good random question as well. So I've got that over on the other tab. So Nate, it sounded like you've got. Would you rather?
I got a yes, I do.
I still don't have a Tyson zone. Do you guys really want me to come up with one?
I don't have one either. It was gonna be Live Golf.
You guys just want to scrap this segment?
Sorry, Cardinal zone.
Cardinal zone.
I mean, I was talking to Liz before I joined up. It's hard for me this time of year. Like I've literally watched 0 sporting events since the last time we recorded our sports themed podcast.
We have a month. You have a month to think of like something absolutely crazy in the world of sports. Actually, I got another one. If you guys want to do something, if one of you guys want to take the Live Golf, I've got another one.
I mean, Live Golf is going to be mine.
Yeah, go for it.
You could do Live Golf. I've got another one. You want me to tell you what it is, or you want me to wait?
No.
You want to wait?
Yeah, wait. Fresh reaction.
I mean, I think the Live Golf is the best one, but mine is, interesting.
I mean, It's not. It's the most expected news. It's not Tyson's Own.
Well, it's not expected.
It's not expected because it was this quick. I mean, it was expected to happen eventually.
Koepka won a major. You think this wasn't going to happen like overnight?
I got a lot of questions about it that I'm going to bring up in Tyson's Zone, Cardinal Zone.
Thomas, are you going to talk a little bit about our golf outing?
Yeah, so I've got something on there.
You went golfing?
Yeah, so Myra does a little little event for his birthday. Like makes swag bags and calls it a tournament and all this stuff. And we had someone drop out last minute, and that's a group that I think Brian mixes well with. So invited him and had a good time.
I pretty much mix well with every group. Let's be honest.
Not the Christian Conservative group.
Not what?
Christian Conservatives?
No.
What are you eating?
Any sane people.
That looked like poo-covered jizz.
Pretty much.
Any sane people, I do.
Quality YouTube content. I wonder if we get flagged for like inappropriate stuff when we say stuff like that.
Do you guys listen to the last podcast?
Yeah.
No.
I sounded like shit. I sounded like I was so tired.
Yeah. But what do you think of the music?
Better.
Nice. I'll have to give it a listen.
I didn't hate it. I know you're not a big fan of it, but I didn't hate it.
It's different.
Did you get any feedback from like Brad or any of the...
Brad said he loves it.
That's so fun.
Every week.
So Brad was
Brad
golfing with Matt, and I totally forgot that. Yeah, it's like Brad listens to the pod. Brad's never met Brian. Now he's like showing up, and this guy's been listening to. He's there.
That's cool.
Hey, Teoscar just hit a home run.
Hey.
And the Mariners have 9 strikeouts in 6 innings.
Do they really?
Yep.
Oh my god.
2 by Kelnick, 2 by Raleigh, 2 by Mike Ford.
Crazy. It's the same point I brought up like 3-4 weeks ago, Brian. I remember there was an episode where you're like, this team's fun to watch. Their pitching is incredible. And I was like, this team is not fun to watch. Their hitting is dreadful.
No, you said it first, and I was just trying to play devil's advocate.
Anyway. Okay, so yeah, I don't have a ton of hey, what you got? I got one I'll throw out there at the end.
Yeah.
What, Nate?
Cardinals zone.
Enjoy the weather.
Okay, yeah, I think, I mean, outside of Mariners, the Francis getting extended, I know we did a little bit of a season wrap on Kraken. Did we? I think we
teased an announcement.
We teased the announcement, which we guessed was his extension, so we can at least confirm that it's done. But yeah,
well,
not much to say.
I have to say something during that as well.
Yeah.
I have to say that it's very sad that my prediction didn't come true, and they didn't get Austin Matthews for Shane Wright.
I'm probably good to go. You guys want
Yeah.
good to go?
Yeah.
Brian, you sound. Mike's good. Can you turn it 360 degrees? Oh, nice.
I'm in a little better mood today than I was last week. So,
yeah, you were a salty bitch last week,
dude. So, actually, when we talk about Sons of Pitches, I got a little something I want to add in there. So,
okay,
let's do it.
No, Nate, it is not our worst game ever.
It is our worst game ever.
No, it's
Those
not.
are the worst 2 games we've ever played.
No, it's not. Our early teams, Nate, our 2011, 2012 teams. You said ever.
Worst
that
game in the modern era.
ever.
In the modern Sons of Pichet era.
So, what's our modern era? Is it when Thomas came on? Is that the start of our modern era? Because that I probably would agree with. But
is it because I have such a positive disposition.
Anyways,
both of those games were shit. Like they were the worst. Like we didn't.
That
Like
team's
nobody
bad.
could pull their heads out of their fucking asses to hit the ball.
I
Like,
got
everybody was popping up. Like it was so frustrating.
No, when I saw it was them, I walked to the dugout pregame. I was like, we got to get these two. This team is bad. Let's fucking go. And
They have decent players, but they score 5 runs? Like
no, but
we
that
can't
team, like
lose.
last year, they were like all brand new, never played baseball before, soccer cleat wearing idiots. Like that team is bad.
Yeah, we lost to 3 games to bad teams.
Yeah. Anyway,
Better figure it out.
better figure it out.
Can't win if we pop it up and then I hit into double plays.
I think I won't be here for playoffs.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
poopy. I think I'm probably gonna be in Italy.
Kyle's probably going to be gone next week.
Wonderful. So
He's
is Jake.
He's coming back from Texas, and he's supposed to get in at like 7:30 on Wednesday night.
Mm.
So
Oh,
Wonderful.
next week?
yeah,
Hmm.
we have late games. He's gonna try to make it, but obviously,
Right.
you know, if there's any delays or anything,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he won't be bringing a cooler. So, and why else do we keep him around?
For his
He's a
positive
wonderful person.
disposition.
All right, go ahead, Thomas. Get it going.
All right, let's get going. What is going on, sport fans? Welcome into episode 32 of the P Cubed podcast. My name is Thomas Barrett, and I am here with my buddies Nate Hull and Brian Danello. We're so glad that you're here hanging out with us while we have our weekly look at the Seattle sports landscape. We're just 3 idiots having a chat, so we need your help to keep us in line. Reach out, let us know your opinions, your thoughts, your suggestions. Send us an email, p3sportspod@gmail.com. You can find the pod on Apple, Spotify, and iHeart. You can tweet us at P3sportspod, or you can join us live on YouTube while we record at P3sportspod on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's free and easy. It helps us out quite a bit, and you can be notified when we go live or when we post up the pod. With all that housekeeping out of the way, grab a bev and buckle up. Nate, what's on the agenda this week?
What's up, y'all? Well, we're gonna do
What an intro.
normal show. I know, yeah. I got caught in my brain for a second. Full disclosure, I flew back from Kansas City this morning very early, and it was dumb. Talk about that later. But we'll finalize the Kraken season. Talk a little bit of minor league hockey. There's some exciting things that happened locally.
Brian's favorite.
Touch a tiny little bit on the Seahawks. Talk about our wonderful Mariners. Talk about the even more wonderful Sounders. Talk about the even more wonderful Storm. And then finish it up with some softball. Sportspredictions.net. Hey, what you got? We got our Cardinal Zone, first episode of the month.
The Cardinals.
And then,
I forgot. Renamed.
Renamed from Tyson Zone, if
Oh
people
my God.
remember. So, what's cracking with the Kraken?
Well, when we went on the air last week, we knew that the Kraken were going to have an announcement. It was pretty much a foregone conclusion that it was going to be a Ron Francis extension, which it was. Nate, good call there. I was wrong in that it was a trade for Austin Matthews. Was holding out hope. No, but in all seriousness, it is a really good thing, I think, for the Kraken. Keep the stability. He has Seattle trending in the right direction, and so I think it's going to be hopefully go even further next year. I'm really looking forward to it already, and I think that Ron Francis had a huge part in what the Kraken did over the past 12 months.
Mhm. Yeah, he built the team. It's his style of team and has his coach. So, yeah, ride with it while they're growing and being successful. We'll see how they improve over the offseason. But yeah, not a lot else to mention with the Kraken. Some minor league hockey news. So the Thunderbirds lost in the final, in the Memorial Cup final, to Quebec, and I just have to like say, it still sucks that that Quebec City doesn't have a team, and because those fans are awesome. Like the environment that's been created around their minor league hockey teams has been really cool to see, and they were celebrating in the streets and having a really good time, and I think that's really great, and I hope that NHL returns there at some point. And then also the Coachella Firebirds. Shit,
Yep, Coachella Valley Firebirds.
man, I almost said Thunderbirds again. They are in the final for the AHL, so that's pretty cool. Some good local hockey.
You always want to see your minor league teams doing well. It seems to bode well for the future. So seeing Coachella Valley making some noise even without Ty Cartier is pretty cool.
No, he's playing for him.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
I thought
he actually scored a goal last game.
So that was actually a question. I don't know how it works for minor league hockey.
He was back on the roster on the minor league team like 2 days after the Kraken's last game. My guess is that because he was called in during the playoffs as an injury replacement, there was some type of roster exemption, is my guess.
Well, that's really cool though. I mean, and we saw what he could do in the brief stint that he had in the 2 rounds of the playoffs, and he seems to be a bright piece for the future. So I'm looking forward to seeing him with Seattle for a full season next year.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
You brought up an interesting point there, Brian, and I don't want to dig too deep on it because we're kind of in the quick hitter segment here, but I think it is true in hockey more than maybe every other sport. The success of some of the minor league teams really does seem to have a strong impact on the success of the major league team. Like, the Rainiers could win a title and it might not make a difference to the Mariners,
I think the biggest difference is with the Rainiers, with AAA, especially with AAA baseball teams, there's a lot of journeyman former major league players that just want to keep playing, and so they're going to play in the minor leagues. There's some guys in there that are in their early to mid 30s that are still playing minor league baseball because they're looking maybe to be a late season addition for another baseball team, another major league team to get a tryout. Whereas with minor league hockey, that isn't the case. It is all younger
guys. All young guys. Interesting.
And so it's guys that'll play together in the minor league system, when they're 22, 23, and then come up into the NHL 24, 25. They already have that experience playing together because they played together for a couple of years. So I think it's the comfort level that is the big reason why.
Yeah, interesting. Good point.
Typically a lot of roster moves too, people coming up and going down, and so it's the auxiliary team, to fill in for injuries. So if you have those teams going deep and getting good experience, it can only benefit the big club. Seattle Seahawks. So this week's mandatory mini camps, not a lot to report, but Brooks and Adams were in attendance and they were taking pictures and kind of fooling around. So it's kind of nice to see everybody there. I don't think I have anything else to talk about the Seahawks. You guys got anything?
One quick thing, second round pick Jordan Hall. Is that his name? I think. The D lineman from Auburn signed his
Derek Hall, right?
Derek Hall, thank you. I apologize for that. Derek Hall.
Monty Hall?
Signed his contract today. 4-year deal. So they're starting
the first one to sign?
No. I think some of the later round picks. I think he's the first early round pick to sign. So they are starting to get those guys under contract.
Brian, in kind of one quick sentence, how do you feel about the Seahawks right now?
Oh, man. In one quick sentence, I think they are going to be fun to watch, and I think there's going to be a lot of points.
Nate, one quick, easy sentence. What's your feeling on the Seahawks right now?
I think their defense is going to be very improved.
So, in recent off seasons, every single year, I feel like there was more concern and panic than excitement. I don't know if it's because the team overperformed last year and we've had a really strong off season, or if it's, still the afterglow of the Schadenfreude for Russell's dog shit season, or I don't know what the reason is, but like, I cannot remember a feeling like this about a Seahawks team in a long, long time. And maybe it was all of Russell's teams that were always had high expectations in the offseason. And so we said, okay, well, here's the problems with this team. We better fix this and this. I don't know if it's because our expectations are lower or what, but fuck, I feel good about this team, man. I cannot wait to watch them. I haven't had this feeling in a long time.
I think you nailed it with the first thing. It was the fact that they overperformed so much. Geno especially. I think everybody here in Seattle is so excited to see Geno get back out on the field and see what he can do for an encore.
I want to see what they can do with 3 tight ends and 2 running backs, or 3 running backs and 2 tight ends. Like, I don't know. I'm jacked up for this, man.
Yeah, I think it's the combination of a great draft last year, what everyone thinks is a great draft this year, and then overperforming. I think it's a combination of all of those things that just has a vibe for the Seahawks that we haven't experienced. Like you said, again, Thomas, I think it's a combination of everything you said, honestly, because, we always had such high expectations going into the off seasons with Russell, in 13, 14, 15, 16, that we really weren't excited because we knew what we were going to get. With this team, we really don't know what we're going to get, and it's the unknown that is the excited.
Interesting. Well, and you mentioned 13, 14, 15, 16 were the expectations higher. Rewind the clock a little bit, 10, 11, 12. What did you do in those years? In 10, you had T-Jack or whoever, kind of placeholder quarterback, and you had a really important draft with Earl and Okung, and you started to get a lot of your placeholders, right? And you include the 2011 draft, you start picking up guys like Cam. Then you go, bang, 2011, Bobby Wagner, Russell Wilson, Super Bowl in 2 years. That was 2012 draft. Yeah. So, but you had 2 really strong years right before your important one. If the draft class is good this year, what have you had? 2 really good ones in a row with what could maybe be considered a placeholder quarterback. People are getting excited.
Yeah. I'm excited as well. Seattle Mariners.
God, Nate, your
not
segues,
excited about them.
Your segues are so good. Man, I'm impressed. I just want to say, from one podcaster to another, I'm so impressed.
I cut them to make sense. Seattle Mariners. Not excited about Seattle Mariners. They ran into Texas, who is a buzzsaw. They have 16 10-plus run games this year already, and have a run differential of 163, positive 163, which is wild.
It's too bad. So 2 weeks ago, you had a strong 7 days coming in for a 10-game homestand, starting with Oakland and Pittsburgh. You go 6-1 in those 7 games, and we're staring at the Yankees coming into town last Monday saying, okay, man, we got a little run here. Let's start to play a little better baseball, and maybe this will start to be the team that we expect. And then last week with the Yankee series capping that 10-game homestand and then going on the road to New York, not only did you get whacked going 1-5 in those 6 games, but you got fucking whacked. Like at least 4 of those games, you weren't competitive at all. It's not good.
Yeah, the pitching wasn't good. Hitting was awful. Going into today, Mariners had 4 of the top 5 in strikeouts.
Top 5 is really good, right?
Not in this stat. So Teo with 80, Geno with 71, Christian Bolt has 71.
Teo has more than 10% more strikeouts than Geno Suarez.
Yeah.
Who has at least 1 more than Julio McConaughey. That's bad. Geno strikes out too much.
Yeah, at least Teo's producing. Geno isn't doing anything.
You got a hit tonight. Well, Teo got a homer tonight. So
Julio hadn't done anything until last homestand. So.
Just to put this in perspective, guys, I want to say this to you. Teo is on pace to strike out more this year than Tony Gwynn did the entire 1990s.
Different era.
So what?
Nate, fine. It's a different era. One guy in 1 season compared to one other guy in 10 seasons? Stop it.
if you're gonna be a sabermetrics person, you can't concentrate on strikeouts. You concentrate on production. Your argument of a low OPS is good. Your argument of high strikeouts is bad.
We're not
Nate,
saying that
Nate,
he's
wait, hold on.
underperforming.
Do you remember what I said last week? Teo was underperforming. I don't
You
give a
did.
shit about sabermetrics.
But you
Teo
focused-
is underperforming.
You focused on strikeouts. Who gives a shit about? If you're gonna look at sabermetrics, you cannot
Have
look
I
at
been
strikeouts.
have I been looking at sabermetrics?
Yeah, you talk about OPS and like.
Do
Like
I
every-
talk about OPS?
I don't
No.
know. Everybody
No.
does.
No, I don't. I don't talk about OPS at all. Thomas talks about OPS.
That's true.
Thomas talks about more of the analytics. I talk about more of the old school stuff. So this falls right in line with what I always say. That
He
being
is
said,
underperforming for what you would expect, but did you even mention what you expected? Because I know that what I said, 35 home runs, 100 RBIs. I don't give a fuck what he does other than that.
yeah, he's
And
not gonna get
he's
there.
probably gonna get there.
He's not gonna get to 100
He's a
RBIs.
second half warrior, dude. Like his
you
last 3
can't
years, he tore
play the
shit out of
season
ball
on a
second
piece of
half.
paper. You can't play the season on a piece of paper. If he has 500 at bats and he goes 500, right? He goes 35 for 500 on the year, and you say, well, it was a good year. He hit his 35 bombs. Fuck you. Fuck you. That's a horrible season. 35 for 500. You cannot tell me that's a good season. Just because you hit 35 bombs doesn't mean that you've had a good year.
Home runs aren't the be all end all, Nate. They're not.
Yeah, production is.
And he's
If he
not
has-
being productive.
But he's a second half player. That's
See,
what
now
you
you're
got when you got Teo.
Okay,
Teo
Now you're
so
Hernandez.
we
completely
need a
changing your
left
argument.
hand. So we need a
I'm not
left
changing
hand,
the
right
argument.
hand platoon for Kelnick. Okay, and we need a first half, second half platoon for Teo. So why did we trade for him in the offseason? Why didn't we bring him in at the deadline if he's a second half player? Stop it, Nate.
Okay, so if everybody around him was playing well, you would not care what he was doing. Right?
But
If
he's
Gino
the
was
most
playing like he
glaring
did last
example.
year, if Julio started the second month, normal instead of like a dipshit, you wouldn't care because he's putting up numbers. Even though he has an
Hey,
OPS that's
Nate,
120 points
there's
lower
a
than
there's a flaw in this logic, right? That each individual player's performance is absolute and does not relate to what other people are doing around them. But these are human people, and the things that they do affect the things around them. The fact that 4 out of the top 5 strikeout players is it the American League or in all of baseball? The fact that we have 4 of them is a fucking problem. Bad at bats
Nate.
are contagious, right?
By the way,
This team is more or less 500. They're not really falling that far behind. No one can argue that. The fact that I have zero interest in tuning in and watching, right? Because I'm not interested in watching 26 strikeouts and a 2-run home run and hoping to God that our pitching staff doesn't give up more than 2 runs. That's not entertainment.
And just so you know, Nate, Teo, you could say he's a second half warrior all you want, but we're over a third of the way through the season. He's on pace for 25 home runs, 82 RBIs, 222 strikeouts. You give me those numbers at the beginning of the year, there's no fucking way in hell I'm taking those numbers. No, absolutely not.
How does that
You
compare
traded
to
a throwaway relief pitcher.
I don't
for him.
care.
Like, who gives a shit?
how does that compare to 2010 Michael Saunders?
Oh no, that was Kelnick,
I know. Who's
which
overperforming?
he's quick. Well, but he's coming back down to Michael.
He's coming
Saunders
back
pretty
down.
quick.
Ugh.
I have a Mariners question.
Yeah.
Shoot.
This team is not a buyer at the trade deadline as they currently stand.
True.
So what do they do?
It depends. We're what, 2 months still from the deadline.
Mhm.
I mean, if you're at 500 at the deadline, pretty much you're a buyer nowadays. So, if they're at what is that? Probably you're 100 games in at that point. If you're at 50 and 50, you're probably a buyer.
So
Maybe
you'd be okay with them trading like a Harry Ford for a rental?
Well, it depends. Like, if it depends on what you get. For a rental, no, I wouldn't be okay for a rental. Not for Harry Ford.
For someone like Jonathan India, you have to start to think about it. But for a rental, I agree. You can't. You're not in a condition to go out and get a rental.
Yeah. So Nate, to answer your question,
It's an
Yes
interesting
and no.
question though.
yes and no. I think that they should try and make their team better this year, but they should also, if they're going to make a trade, it should not be for a rental. So
think about what they did at the 2021 deadline.
Think about what Milwaukee did last year. You know, they traded Hader because they had Devin Williams. They got their guys they wanted, and they still made the playoffs.
Is Scott Service the right manager for this team at this point?
I mean, he's the second winningest manager in Seattle Mariners history.
That's for tenure, not for performance.
And he should have won Manager of the Year.
Agree.
One of the last 2 years. I'm not giving up on him for a third of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
Is he a good manager or is he a good growth manager? Like,
I think
he's not an over-the-top manager. Like,
literally 1 calendar year ago, we were asking the same question about Jerry Dipoto. Is he a good general manager for growth, or can he get a team over the hump? And then what happened?
I mean, at this point a year ago, Scott Service was probably 3 or 4 games away from getting fired. Don't forget that. And then they go on that 14-game winning streak. So
I prefer to judge them based on their performance against past expectations. The past expectations was we need to rebuild and we need to grow, and they've been able to perform to that expectation at a really high level. So it's not fair for us to assume that that is their limit, right? Now with a new set of circumstances and a new set of goals, can they adjust themselves to meet those goals? We'll see. It's too early to ask that question.
So how much stock do you put in like Texas hiring someone like Bruce Bochy to take them to the next level?
None.
None?
A lot. Actually.
I've put a lot in that. I think he's probably the reason that they're so good this year.
I think it's
the same player.
That has absolutely nothing to do with signing
not the same
Simeon and
players.
signing Seager and hitting on Garcia and Lowe and the other
They
fucking
had
guy
all the same
Heim.
guys last year.
But their pitching staff.
But their pitching staff was hot garbage last year, right?
That's the big difference.
So
I think
they've
it's a
had
combination.
2 hugely spending off seasons. You can't just say like, "Oh, Bruce Bochy. Oh yeah, great. Hire Dusty Baker."
Well, Dusty Baker, I don't care that they won the World Series last year. Most overrated manager in Major League history, but we're not going to get into that right now because he should have like 4 World Series. But I think with Bochy, I think he's got that proven track record of taking a team to multiple championships, being successful, and putting guys in the right spots. You know, I mean, when one year, I don't even remember the guy who hit the game-winning home run in the Game 7 of the NLCS. Was it? It was someone who's
Joe
actually
Carter
from the Seattle area. No, it was in the 2014 when they won their last World Series. Players like that, Bochy always seems to find a right spot for. You know, someone like this year it could be Brad Miller on that team. He always seems to find the right spot, and I think because of all the experience that Bochy has winning World Series, I do think he's the big reason why they are in first place.
I am
like
worried.
If you went out and got a Bruce Bochy or like a Terry Francona type of manager for this team, would they be better? I think they would be.
I agree.
So I know the question's valid. Like it's either Dipoto or it's Service, right? Like, you know, one of them probably needs to go at some point.
But I'm not saying Service can't grow into that role because again, you know, Bochy's
he's never had the opportunity to accomplish
years.
this.
Bochy's been in the league for a manager for 25 years.
Oh, 20
right?
some odd years, yeah.
Same thing with Dusty Baker. Same thing with Terry Francona. Same thing with, you know, all of those guys. I mean, but then you look at someone like Brian Snitker with Atlanta. You know, he was never a manager in Major League Baseball. Came in, and now Atlanta. I mean, now people say he's
the dude with
top,
Toronto.
Yeah, you're right.
Kevin
like
Cash
Ozzie
with the
Albies
Rays
and Riley and Acuna and Strider and Anderson and Murphy.
They didn't have Strider when they won the World Series. You know, they didn't. Acuna was injured when they won the World Series. I'm just saying, Thomas. It seems to me like you are discount managers and you don't think they play as big of a role as the players do.
I discount the logic that just because someone hasn't done something before doesn't mean they can't do it, because that's dog shit.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying this team probably would be better if someone like Bruce Bochy or Terry Francona was the manager.
Yeah, we'd be better if we had Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, but we fucking don't. Like, do you genuinely think? Do you genuinely think Scott Service is on the hot seat?
Not anymore.
I think he should be.
Why?
I don't think he is right now.
I think this team is way underperforming. I think his bullpen management is dog shit, just like it was.
I
last
am
year.
worried about their love of
They've
tinkering.
had injuries,
right?
right? They've had a
As
lot
the
of injuries
quality
this
of
year.
your
That's not
team
his fault, but-
improves, you need to stop tinkering as much as you're doing.
And
His bullpen
you know,
management was shit last year.
yeah, he just had great bullpen pieces.
Oh, so it's all about the players and not about the manager.
No. He made terrible decisions on the bullpen. He was lucky that he had such good players to get him out of the situations that he put himself into.
If they were
He
good
could always
players-
bring in a seawall, then he'd always get out of it.
if they were
right.
all if they are good players, what is putting a good player in a shitty situation though, Nate? Like, I
we're
don't
talking
follow that.
ourselves in circles. We're each trying to disprove the other by using the other's logic. So it's we're struggling here.
My hot take is one of them has to go. It's either Dipoto or Service, and if Dipoto goes, it's they're both
Strongly
gone.
disagree.
So I think if you're Dipoto, you need to make a decision on if you want this team to take the next step. If they're one of the highest revenue sourcing teams, they need to have a bigger payroll. It's embarrassing.
Which
They
has
need to go
nothing to
find
do with the
players.
manager.
I understand that. They need to go find players. I don't think Scott Service is the manager. If you went and signed a couple big time free agents that would play, he plays to the young team. He's a Ted Lasso, right? Somebody else needs to come in and take the next step. That's just my opinion. I like him. I think he's wonderful. I think he handles the team well.
Babe, I love you, but you gotta go. Like, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're funny, and I love you so much, but you gotta get out of the house.
Put him in the front office. You don't have to fire him. Move him out of the manager spot.
He would go down to Oakland just like Bob Melvin and completely.
Vegas.
Oh, and then he would take them to a World Series because he was never given the opportunity here.
He's been given 10 years.
No,
Yeah, but
stop
how many of
it.
those were
How many of those years
4.
were they legitimate contender? Like, stop it. You can't.
4.
4.
Oh my god.
He had 2 years on the front side with Cano and all them.
That was a
And then
contending
they tore
team.
Then they tore it down. Yeah, it was. On paper, it was.
All right, we've talked way too much about the Mariners.
Seattle Sounders.
Oh God.
They're not good enough. They're boring. They
They have a Mariners problem.
yeah, a little different. I think they're aging. I don't think they're poorly run. Well, maybe they're poorly run. This is another hot topic question we can talk about later.
It's another hot topic because Schmetz's voice could be getting old, and they have a new GM, and we're not sure about how he works yet. So yeah.
But 4 points in 5 home games. They haven't beat the Timbers at home in 6 years. They have one more opportunity in September, but it's embarrassing. It was such a bummer of a game. Like, you have an elite defense. You never put them in a position where they're exposed in the back end. That's great, but you're not interesting on offense. And Lodero, early in the season, looked like old Lodero with this compression of games, 8 games in 4 weeks. He looked old, and he's not effective. And I think you got to really consider taking him out of the lineup and making him a sub.
One of the most important parts of his game is his motor, and if he doesn't have it, he's a different player. If he doesn't have his motor, he's Mauro Rosales, who had a really short shelf life with this club.
He's not creating opportunities. He's not scoring goals. He's not assisting on goals. He's a player, and you brought in Rusnak to kind of fill that role, give him the opportunity to sit in the middle and do his thing, right? Start one of the young kids at defense and mid, or make Christian more active. Do something. You got to attack. I was very disappointed in that game, and it didn't seem like they cared, and they had 40,000 people there that, they didn't entertain at all. It changed a little bit when Christian came into the game. I think he is a really huge piece of this team, and I think he's really the only one that really has that passion for the rivalry.
He's an all-timer with the club at this point. I mean, who do you put above him?
Above Christian?
Yep. In club history, maybe Ozzy. Full stop.
Ozzy. Yeah.
Full stop. Keller, well, yeah, okay, fine. No. Fry, maybe. Who else?
Mhm.
Don't give me Obendus like that. That was lust. That wasn't love. You know.
Yeah.
Christian's a
I mean, Lodero
Really-
probably is up there too.
nah. Not on that list. Evans. 10-year trophies. Christian's a really important part of this club. He's an important part of the play on the field, and he's an important voice in the locker room. And we've missed him badly.
Yeah, so him and Ruidiaz are slated to start first time since April, which is good, or early April, which is good.
Yeah, it sounds like
So,
Morris might be available too. They'll know more in a
yeah.
couple days.
Yeah, so figure it out, Sounders. Figure it out. Seattle Storm. They are 0-4.
Yeah, young players are getting a lot of run so far. You know, we knew this was going to be a rough season, and so far that is paying dividends based on what we said. They knew they weren't going to be competitive. They just want to see those young players develop and, you know, see if they can get the first overall pick in the draft is what it's looking like.
Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, probably.
Hmm.
She likes playing here in Seattle. She played here in the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. She played well. Not really a
College
whole lot
base-
to say. Sorry about that.
College baseball and softball, we touched on this last week. They were both knocked out. But cool that they both got to the tournament and got to Oklahoma.
I want to say something about one of the teams that knocked him out, the men's baseball team. Oral Roberts is like 49-11, and they weren't even ranked. So they were a very underrated team, and it doesn't surprise me that they were the team that came out of that region. That team plays really well. I watched a little bit of that game against Washington, and they've got some mashers on that team. So they are going to be a tough out for anybody in the College World Series.
Nice. Sons of Pitches softball.
Whoop whoop.
We had a bummer of a set of games last week, and I said they are the worst ever. And I was challenged by Brian and Thomas that not the worst ever, but maybe the worst in our current, what did you say?
Era.
Current era. I think we had, how many outs are there? So 21 outs in each game. We probably had 30 of 42 outs that were pop-ups that were just shitty.
Yeah, and I will admit that is the first time in the 13 years I have been on Sons of Pitches that I felt old playing shortstop. I couldn't move. My ankle was hurting. My wrist was hurting. I was watching the guy on the other team move around like I did 5-6 years ago, and I'm like, man, I feel old. That's the first time that has ever happened to me, and it terrifies me.
We're still sitting in a good spot. We're at 5-3, so a couple of setbacks here is not really good. Like to Nate's point, we didn't have a ton of focus at the plate. Yeah, we just got to get back and get it done. And of course, the best thing you can have after 2 terrible losses is
A bye week.
Womp womp.
Hey.
So we're gonna have to wait a whole week to get back on the right track.
I need it.
Well, we can move you to second base if you want.
Maybe.
You can play left field next week.
Ooh. I
Because
like
Jake
where
will
your
be
head's at.
gone.
I like where your head's at.
Put Corey at short. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah, I was embarrassed by that. That was hard to play. My knee was also hurting, so I didn't get to play the field. But Thomas did a nice job at first base. Good job, Thomas.
That's fun filling in for you.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
We'll be right back with. Ooh,
what about the stats update?
we got a stats update.
We got a stats update for Sons of Pichet. So not
Pichet.
including the games last week, because those haven't been loaded yet. But for the first 3 weeks, the first 6 games of the year.
First 4 weeks.
So you have loaded in.
Oh,
the
no, I
games.
apologize. It is the first 3 weeks. First 3 weeks. Yeah, we finally, for the first time ever, are doing stats. I've uploaded them into an app. We've got Nate hitting 615 so far this year.
That's pretty good.
Thomas hitting 667 so far.
Oh, that's better than 615.
And then Brian hitting 833.
Oh.
Yep, I was
What's your OPS?
10 for 12. OPS is 1603.
What's my OPS?
1444.
What? No. Did you put my triple in?
Yes, I put your triple in.
You had like a 2250 last week.
Oh, that was after the first games, though. Damn it.
Russ is leading our team with a 857 average and a 1993 OPS.
Oh,
Russ.
He probably
he had
has like a
2 triples.
950 on base as well.
He has 2 triples, and he hit another one last week, and his on base is 850.
He had a couple Russes last week too.
Pretty solid.
Yeah, that's fun. Stats are fun.
Yep.
Softball. If you're not hitting above 500, you're bad.
Yeah, we have one guy on our team who's hitting $188.
No name calling.
Nope, not calling him out. I called him out at the game, but I'm not calling him out here. And by the way, since we've been talking, the Mariners have hit 2 more solo home runs. Oh, wait, nope. Rodriguez hit a solo home run, and then France got a hit, and then Teo hit him in.
And in between, Kelnick struck out.
Yep.
Boy.
So 4-1
We'll be right back.
Mariners now.
We'll be right back.
So what's the score?
Sportspredictions.net. God, you fucking cunt. Fucking funt. We'll be right back with sportspredictions.net. I'm gonna sound like a...
I love when you edit this together, just like some random segues are said so angrily, and no one will understand why.
Brian, remember to like push people to your website and then talk about like a couple interesting things.
Okay.
US Open's coming up?
Yep.
Anything else?
NBA draft.
Butt stuff.
When Benyama broken tibia waiting to happen. Welcome back, everybody. Sportspredictions.net with Brian. How's it going, Brian?
Not bad, not bad. Yep. www.sportspredictions.net. Our sports predictions at gmail.com. Go check it out. We had some predictions for the NBA Finals, NHL Finals last week. Go take a look, see who we picked to win both of those series. We have been picking some baseball. The Cardinals are fucking us right now. We keep expecting them to turn it around, and they are just not. So, other than that, doing pretty solid. Like I said, usually for our picks, we go on the starting pitchers, the respective starting pitchers who we like better. So, it seems to do pretty well for us. We're at about a 55, 56% clip right now. So, if we were in Vegas betting on every game, we actually would be making a little bit of money, which is cool. Couple things coming up here in the next couple of weeks. We've got the NBA draft coming in this month, so we have predictions on who we think is going to go after the number 1 pick, because the number 1 pick is a lock. Victor Wembanyama is going to the Spurs.
Is that your lock of the week?
No.
Lock of the century?
Yeah, I mean, literally, like, they've already reached out to him. It's the safest pick in a draft, any draft, since I think, like, Andrew Luck in the NFL.
Tim Duncan.
Greg
Safest
Oden.
one in the it's the safest one in the NBA since LeBron.
No, probably since Greg Oden.
Anyways, so we've got that. We do have the U.S. Open coming up, so we will be talking some golf on there. And go take a look and tell me what you think. Tell me if there's anything that you want us to predict.
Wembanyama's safest pick since LeBron.
No, not what I said. Most obvious lock to go number 1
Most
since
obvious
LeBron.
pick. Okay, that makes more sense. There you go. Got it. That makes more sense. That makes you feel better about that. Cool. Yeah. Sounds good. Well, thanks, Brian. We'll be right back with Hey, What You Got? I am not impressed with Wembanyama.
Of course you're not. You're
I
a
think-
contrarian.
Is French professional basketball better than NCAA?
You asked me this question 15 years ago. I say hell no.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because of all the one and dones, there's
Hmm.
more talent in college basketball, but the game is better overseas.
Like I watch his highlights and he's slow, right? He's not fast. I mean, he has
He's
a fast
also
shot.
19.
Yeah. So is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant was amazing in college.
What I'm saying is he's going to grow into it. you
So
know?
is Carmelo Anthony. LeBron James was 17 when he was drafted.
18.
18. I don't know, man. That
Thomas,
body style just
You look like me when we're talking about the Sounders.
I look like me when you guys are talking about French professional basketball.
Nate, to answer your question, is probably pretty close.
Did you see that Messi rumored to enter Miami again? And MLS came out and said that they would help them sign him if it was an opportunity, which I think is fucking bullshit.
That
Holy
is-
shit, I didn't know Munoz
tampering.
came back today.
Yeah, Munoz.
Dylan
Oh, we didn't
Moore.
talk about it. Munoz and Dylan Moore both came back.
Yeah, you were too busy
Swaggerty
trying to
and-
fire the fucking manager. Jesus Christ.
I didn't even know that.
I'm ready to fire service. I'm done with him.
Wait, who else got sent down?
Went to 15-day.
Okay.
Penn Murphy should be back in a week or so, and Marco is gonna
What's
be out for a
what's
month.
Penn Murphy's OPS?
Penn Murphy doesn't have an OPS. He's a pitcher.
Oh.
He might
Could
have an
have it.
OPS. I don't
I
know.
would say he could. Mike Ford has an ERA.
Well played.
I didn't know he pitched in college, by the way. I heard that on
I didn't know
on
that
an
either.
interview today.
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to cut in any of the Mariner roster moves? No. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, what you got? My favorite segment. The Brian. Hey, what you got?
So yeah, we've got the NBA Finals and the NHL Finals going on, like we talked about in SportsPredictions.net. NBA Finals series is tied 1-1, going back to Miami. We watched the entire fourth quarter of Game 2, and man, Denver just fell apart defensively. Duncan Robinson scored 10 quick points to start the fourth quarter. I think Denver had a 8-point lead. Quickly, it was down to nothing, and then they were losing, and then they were losing by 11, and then they had a chance to tie it. But man, their defense was horrible. They need to do something different. And you know, I was listening to people talk after the game, and Miami's strategy was really interesting. They know that Jokic is going to get his points no matter what. But when Denver is most dangerous is when Jokic is passing the ball. When Jokic gets the triple doubles and has, double-digit assists is usually when they win. So, yeah, he had 41 points in the game, but he only had 4 assists. And so, basically, they didn't double at all, and they basically were like, Jokic, go ahead and beat us. We're not going to let anybody else. Interesting strategy. Let's see if it can last the whole series. But at this point, I am not doubting anything Miami does. NHL Finals. That was a rough game for Florida yesterday. So they lost 7-2.
Mm-hmm.
They're down 2-0 going home though. So a lot of hockey left. Florida seems to play better when their backs are against the wall, and they're definitely against the wall now. So we'll see what they can do in Game 3, which is on Thursday.
Yeah, it was 4-0 going into the third period. That's pretty wild. And Florida was starting to lay some thunder down on some of the players and was getting pretty chippy out there. I think Vegas is just the superior team this year, and I think it's a matter of time before they just win it all. And I'm probably saying at least in 5, but it might be a sweep.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. But crazier things have happened, with this Florida team this season. So I'm not holding out a lot of hope, but there is a little bit. that Florida can come back and make this a series. Hey, Nate, what you got?
Some news came out about Steven Strasburg this week that he has severe nerve damage in his elbow, and rumors are that he's may not pitch ever again, which is pretty sad for the player, right? But also he was signed to a very, very big free agent, or well, not a free agent. He was a extension. What's the numbers you have that up, Thomas?
7 years, 245 was the original deal. It looks like signed in.
I think it was signed after they won the World Series in 18, right?
No, it was like 2020 maybe. Yeah, because he's gonna be a free agent in 2027. So.
Yeah, so he's 3 years into it. So yeah, it's sad for the player. I mean, he's an electric player, and he had 4 or 5 good years. Always been injury prone, but it's always a bummer when you hear that a good player is going to be possibly done for their career, and then also that he has a very large contract, and as we know in Major League Baseball, it's all guaranteed. So
yeah, well, there's got to be some clauses in there for an inability to perform. If he just is if he is so unhealthy that he can't play, it has to get voided, right?
No, they take out insurance against it.
Oh, the team does?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, for injuries.
Crazy. So
Yeah.
the player will make that money?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Jeez.
Hey, Thomas, what you got?
Just a couple other baseball notes. It was a flurry of activity today. I actually didn't have too much to say about a lot of the stuff that happened over the last week or so, and then today just a bunch of news came out. Obviously, couple roster moves with the Mariners that we skipped over. Munoz and Moore, as expected, reactivated today. Got onto the 15-day IL with just a couple little nagging things, and Haggerty optioned down. So interesting. Caballero stays up, Haggerty goes down. And then just a couple other little baseball points. DeGrom, we made a lot of jokes, and similar to your point about Strasburg, it never is great to see a great player unable to perform, but as expected, after signing a $185 million contract with the Rangers, DeGrom's going to be out for the year. Inflammation in his right arm that requires surgery, for which they are not ruling out Tommy John. If it's another Tommy John, it'll be his second of his career, and he probably wouldn't be back until maybe playoffs next year, right? Year plus recovery. Crazy. Manoah, a big name, optioned today. He's had a really rough go in the start of the year for the Blue Jays, but it's just crazy to see an opening day starter for a team that's considered to be a World Series contender optioned back to the team's spring training complex, not even to one of the minor league teams. They literally sent him back to the Peoria, right? Their equivalent. So just kind of a precipitous fall there for a player who still, I think, will have a good long career in the MLB in front of him, but a little bit of a rocky start. And Nate, this one's for you. Mike Trout today announced as the MLB ambassador for mental health. So it's
cool.
a cause that's really important to him, really important to all of us, and it's kind of neat. Not really sure if it was something the MLB was trying to actively do, or to me it seems like the type of position that he probably advocated internally for, and then they just said, sure, go for it. But yeah, it's really cool. It's something that affects everyone. So it's always great to raise awareness.
Yeah, that's cool. Nice.
Yeah. Nate, what you got?
Well, I made some bad flying decisions this last week. I left for Kansas City on Sunday night, and I should have known better. Number one, flying on a Sunday, because that's when everybody flies. Number two, expecting that my flights would be on time. And then number three, navigating Kansas City when I arrive at 2 a.m, because my flights were delayed by 2.5 hours. And Kansas City is not a big place. I don't know if anybody's been. I mean, it's like really widely expanded. It's not a lot of people, but finding an Uber there at 2 a.m. is hard. And so I didn't get to bed really well. And then I turned around and flew this morning, right? So flew in 2:30 a.m. Monday, worked all day Monday, went out to dinner with my coworkers, and then I was up at 4:30 in the morning to get to the airport because it's 45 minutes almost outside of Kansas City, and
Yeah,
to
you
get on a 7 a.m. flight.
You didn't do that, right?
No, that was a terrible, terrible, terrible decision. I should have flown in Monday and stayed till Wednesday is what I should have done. But yeah, so I'm very tired. I was up at 2:30 a.m. Pacific time. So just want to say that if you're flying these days, plan accordingly because there are a lot of delays right now. Brian, what you got?
Luis Arias now hitting 401 this season.
How many strikeouts does he have? 80, 82, 85?
I mean, it is ridiculous what he's doing the last couple of weeks.
He's a pretty good hitter.
He's now hitting 401. Funny story, I told this to you guys earlier. I'm going to say it on the podcast. I have Luis Arias on my fantasy team, and I was thinking I might sell high on him, buy low on Alek Manoah. So about 3 weeks ago, I offered a trade straight up Luis Arias for Alek Manoah. It was out there for 2 weeks. The guy never responded. And, yeah, needless to say, I withdrew that trade offer because he is.
Yeah, you're lucky you didn't accept that.
Yeah, Manoah's probably not going to accrue too many fantasy points for you at the Peoria training complex.
Yep.
Or whatever
His
the fuck
last
it's called in
7
Florida.
games, Luis Arias is 15 for 27
Wow.
for a 556 batting average. So, yeah, he's doing pretty good.
He's really good.
So, we haven't had a 400 hitter in 80 years. It's probably not going to happen this year, but I can't tell you the last time we had a 400 hitter even this late into the season. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I'm rooting for him because I like him. So, and also because he's on my fantasy team. Hey, Nate, what you got?
LAFC lost in the CONCACAF Champions League final against Lyon, right?
Mhm.
Was it Lyon?
Mm-hmm.
And their manager, Steve Cherundolo, who's a former, he was like on the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah,
right?
he was a really good national teamer. He was never like the standout star, but he had a really solid international career.
Yeah. Well, he came out and said the roster rules for MLS are preventing more MLS teams from being competitive in Champions League.
It's true that the roster rules governing what's possible in MLS are different than the roster rules governing what's possible in Liga MX, and that teams from those two leagues compete in the same tournament. I can agree with that factual statement.
Mm-hmm. And
everything else is a stretch.
Yeah, and I'm gonna point to yes, probably the Mexican League, Liga MX has deeper rosters because of their ability and their like less cap resistant, spending and their academies and all that stuff. But I just have to point back. Fuck LAFC.
Yeah, fuck off. Get better. Get better.
Sounders won Champions League.
Yeah, well, and by the way, then had a disastrous regular season as a result.
Disaster of a regular season.
But yeah, fuck off. Get better.
LAFC coming out of their Champions League break, which they had almost 2 weeks off, are now going to have a run of 7 games in 21 days or something like that.
Good.
And so they're going to get punished pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean the fact
that's what
that
you get for competing on the world stage.
Well, and the fact that Cherundolo came out and complained about that in a year in which their league schedule was manipulated for them to have the best chance of success. Fuck you. Yeah. Fuck off. Just fuck you. Try a different excuse.
You.
Fuck you.
And so came out today that they're going to change the name of the Champions League final. They're going to call it the Champions Cup, CONCACAF Champions Cup. So the Sounders will be the only MLS team to ever win CONCACAF Champions League. So that's kind of cool.
So you're being smug about that fact.
I think it's cute.
Okay, so the only reason that the Sounders are the only MLS team to have won the CONCACAF Champions League is because it was called something different when the LA Galaxy won it.
sure was. Yeah.
So let's not remember, or let's please remember that we weren't the first. Now, that tournament that they won was not the same production that it is now, but it is important. Tournament. It is important to note that at the time it was the premier continental tournament.
Yeah, 4-team tournament played in one location, knockout style.
Totally different.
Like
yeah.
So, yeah. So, fuck LAFC. I don't care.
Right in the butt.
But yeah, they have 3 games in hand on the Sounders, so they win 1, and they're at the top of the table. So, who knows? Brian, what you got?
Just wanted to give a quick shout out to the Oklahoma women's softball team going for their 3rd straight Women's College World Series championship. They are in the finals against Florida State, and they are coming into the championship series with a 51-game winning streak.
Unbelievable.
It's a lot of games.
Absolutely insane. It's just ridiculous. Like, I couldn't imagine being on my A game for 51 straight games.
Actually, I'm curious, Brian. What's your A game like?
You saw it about 5 years ago. That was about my D+ game last week.
It's a perfect time to get married.
Yeah. I don't have enough going on in my life right now. No, so just wanted to give a quick shout out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for them.
And they are 2 wins away from a 3rd straight championship. And I think they're going to get it. So does sportspredictions.net. Hey, Nate, what you got?
I saw this headline today, and it made me very happy. And I have to recommend that everybody goes and watches the trailer, because one of my favorite people in the world, Marshawn Lynch, is a gym teacher in a queer-style American Pie comedy by the makers of Cocaine Bear. And I immediately had to click on it and say, what is this about?
I liked almost all of the words in that sentence. I never expected to hear them together, but
I have not. But
it's not what you think.
Okay.
There's a lot more death than you would think. So it's based
roughly
on
I'm a little
story.
surprised to hear that in a movie about a bear on cocaine, you didn't go in expecting that there would be much death.
I didn't, because this is based on a story that actually happened of a bear finding a brick of cocaine.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to loosely be based on a true story. The loosely part is all the death. So, yeah, and I watched it with my in-laws, so that probably was another reason why I didn't enjoy it too much.
Yeah, I just want to say the movie is called Bottoms, and the trailer is pretty funny, and I'm totally gonna go out of my way to watch it because I really enjoy Marshawn Lynch, and I think he's a gem for the world. And yeah, Thomas, what you got?
Just one last one. Get out and enjoy the weather, people.
Beautiful.
We got ourselves a really consistent run of some really, really nice weather here over this last weekend. I had the pleasure of golfing with P Cubed podcast co-host Brian and friend of the pod, Brad. If you're out there, Brad, it's good to see you. And it was just it was a really good reminder. It's so sunny. It's so beautiful. We live in a beautiful place, and especially days where it's not oppressively warm. It's just so good for the body, so good for the soul to get outside and just be outside and be with your people. So just wanted to give that reminder.
Speaking of oppressively warm, it was 90 degrees in Kansas City with 75% humidity. And I flew back and it was 68 by the time I landed. And it was the Seattle level of humidity. I don't know what it was, 15% or something like that. And I'm like, oh, this is so wonderful. High humidity is awful, especially for a large human. But yeah, right now it's wonderful here. There's no smoke in the air. The days are beautiful. I got some really great pictures of Rainier. Get outside. Yeah.
Yeah, that golf was a lot of fun on Saturday. The days are running together. That was a lot of fun. That's a good group of guys. I hope I'm invited back next year.
Yeah, that was fun. By the way, handicap currently at 11.3.
Handicap at 21.0.
Why do you have points?
Because it's a weighted average.
Oh, okay. Ooh. What if you're at 11.8? Is your handicap 12?
No, your handicap's at 11.8. The way that the handicap practically translates to a tournament, if you're actually playing in one that will give you strokes on holes, you don't take a stroke on the 11.8 most difficult holes. You actually, there's a separate kind of calculation to do where your handicap enters in, considers the rating and the slope of the course, and then that tells you how many strokes you get on that course.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So if I'm an 11 handicap, I'm not going to go shoot an 81 at Snoqualmie Falls, right? Just for example.
No, well, thanks for detailing that for me. We'll be right back with Cardinal Zone.
I was gonna say you're also not gonna shoot an 81 at Foster.
Actually, so I don't play often enough, and I don't care at this point. I want to try to join the men's club out here at Mount Si because it's so close. But you guys both, I start talking and both of you are just like getting up and going away. What the hell? You guys taking
I don't know what Nate's doing.
Wazes or what?
I don't know what Nate's doing. Jeannie took my truck to go drop off a dog about 45 minutes ago. She's not back yet, so I was just looking to see if the truck was there.
No, so I don't have the handicap registered anywhere. I just Google the formulas and made a spreadsheet, and I realized I hadn't put any of my rounds from last year in there, which is too bad. I played pretty good last year, so if I'd put some of those in, I'd probably be a little better. Nate, you're having a green screen problem. Actually, you can just leave it. I think it's fantastic.
That looks funny. You know you're muted, right, Nate?
Oh fuck! God damn it!
Bat number 1. The Woody Sinister.
I've used that bat actually.
Yeah, you have.
I used it in a tournament last year.
And then a DeMarini. What is this? Aftermath?
Aftermath.
So this one's heavy as shit. This is like a 28.
Your shit is 28 ounces, bro?
And then an Easton, the Helmer, or whatever it's called. Bomb Squad. So these were like hot like 3 years ago.
Are we gonna have to get tribal tattoos to use those bats? They look pretty cool.
I mean, it makes us look more dipshit softball-y. But yeah, fat improvements. All right, ready? Welcome back, everybody. Time for the Cardinal Zone. If you're not familiar with the Cardinal Zone, it is our rebrand of the Tyson Zone. Tyson Zone is Mike Tyson can do anything, anytime, and you would not be surprised by it. In our first show of the month, we enter the Cardinal Zone. So who wants to go first, Brian?
Sure. My Cardinal Zone of the month is Churchill Downs Racetrack. I don't know if you've heard about this, but in the last
81 horse deaths or some shit like that.
In the last 6 weeks, 12 horses have died on the track.
Horses, good lord.
And they
on the track.
Yep, they have on the track or in the stables before races, and they have completely shut down their spring meets. So their spring race days are all done now.
Is it the field or is it?
It's a combination of things. They don't know like that, and that's what's so crazy. That's why it's my Cardinal Zone. Is they don't know why all these horses are dying. They don't know if it's a combination of the field and if they're taking illegal drugs. And
can you imagine?
It's just random.
Like going to the horse track on a Saturday and being like, I put $20 on Gazpacho. Oh, come on, Gazpacho. Come on, Gazpacho. Come on, Gazpacho. Gazpacho?
Broken leg.
Dead. Like in the fucking middle of the race. Oh my god.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's my Cardinal Zone of the month is Emerald Downs, or not Emerald Downs, but Churchill Downs, and it's pretty crazy because it's the most famous racetrack in all of sports. So
wild. I got one. Today it was announced that Live Golf and PGA merged in some respect. Not a lot of details about it. It just came out this morning. I suspect that it is the Saudi money. They have more money than God, buying into the PGA to get credibility or whatever they want, or market share, or get their golfers into the tournaments. Like really, there's a lot around it, which is going to be really interesting to see how it plays out, because there's been players coming out saying that the Live golfers shouldn't be competing in Ryder Cup, and they're obviously the how do we say it, like social aspects of accepting Saudi Arabian money, and the PGA, and Live Golf has had like a 3-year run of whatever comes out about them, I wouldn't be surprised about. And I'm really curious to see what this is, and maybe we can dive deeper into it next week when we get all the details. But yeah, that's my Cardinal zone.
Yeah,
Thomas
it's
didn't come along.
it was an interesting thing to wake up to this morning. Figured it would happen at some point. I didn't think it was going to happen this soon. So it's pretty interesting. I know there's a lot of really pissed off golfers in the PGA Tour. They called Jay Monahan, the PGA Tour president, they called him a hypocrite, and no one knew about it. It was a very hush-hush meeting. They've been meeting for weeks to try and figure everything out, and no one knew. It was quite a shock to wake up to this morning.
Yeah, and like, what does it look like for all the players that didn't go to Live, and what does it look like for the golfers that did and got their payouts? And
Nate, I think you said the right thing. It'll be interesting to see over the next week or so, what kind of stories we hear, what kind of news comes out about the details of the deal. Because on its face, yeah, there's a few different ways that you could assume that it's gone. But in a deal like this that involves a lot of money, a lot of social aspects, and a lot of political aspects, it's usually better to wait a couple days and do a little bit of research and find out what's really going on before we jump to anything too conclusive. But yeah, to your point, anything that comes out about Live, hard to ignore.
And 2 weeks before U.S. Open, so
yeah,
the news cycle will play out a little bit, and they'll be able to have the golfers there.
Yeah, I mean, the U.S. Open's hosted by the USGA, so there wouldn't have been any player conflicts at that tournament, but it's one of the 4 majors of the year, so it's a convenient time to your point, get it in the news cycle, get golf in the forefront of everyone's minds, and get an extra week promoting the tournament down in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one.
Yes.
Wow.
I think it's a pretty good one too. So, we're talking about Tyson Zone, Cardinal Zone, things that anything you heard wouldn't surprise you. And so mine this month is the evolution of sports conversation. So I was golfing this weekend, right, as previously mentioned, and had a very enjoyable time after the round, sitting on a beautiful patio overlooking some picturesque golf, eating a sandwich and drinking a beer with some of my fellow golfers. And they must have talked for 45 minutes about NIL and league alignments and expansion and what to do with this money and what to do with that money. And I just sat back there. I was like, fuck, we'll put this on the list of things that we weren't talking about, 2 or 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's just crazy with the kind of the flattening of the world. And so, we're talking about the number 1 pick in the NBA draft coming from French professional basketball. That wouldn't have been a topic of conversation in the recent history. So for me, it's just kind of crazy. The subject matter and kind of the breadth of some of the sports conversations that we can have now, just as casual sports fans. The availability of information is just something that's never been before. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's funny, Thomas. I mean, if 15 years ago you're talking about paying college athletes, you're talking about a completely different story.
Yeah.
Right? You're talking about Reggie Bush getting his Heisman taken away from him. Now it's encouraged.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good one.
Nice.
There we go.
3 good ones.
Yeah.
The winner for me has to be Liv, though. I think Nate's got the winner.
Congratulations, Nate.
Thanks.
But Thomas, yours was really good too.
Thanks, Brian. I liked
Right.
yours.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hoping someone would say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but I liked it.
Death of horses.
Oh yeah, Gazpacho. Gazpacho. Poor Gazpacho died.
Go Gazpacho.
By the way, if I ever become rich enough to get a racehorse, I'm definitely naming it Gazpacho.
That's a good
Pistachio fiasco.
one. There you go. All right, we'll be right back with closing questions. Would you rather? In a minute. All right. Would you rather?
That was a fun segment.
Yeah. Glad we do it once a month. Welcome back, everybody. Gonna start off the closing questions with the would you rather. It's my would you rather this week, and I got comedic would you rathers. So, a friend of mine gave me a would you rather over text, and I thought it was pretty funny. So I'm gonna lead with that one because I think it's pretty hilarious. But I also just looked up like really fun ones, and I'm gonna kick them out to you and see what you think. So, first comedic would you rather? Would you rather clog the toilet on our first date or the first day at a new job?
First day at a new job. At least I got paid to take that dump.
First date because it's going to be the last date, but I don't have a whole lot invested into it.
Oh, that's an interesting way to think about it. I think like clogging it. I also tended towards the first date because like my thought was you could be at a restaurant and something, you could play it off, you know, but first day at a job would be kind of embarrassing.
It's a power statement at a new job, right? You come in, you clog it, you tell someone else to fucking deal with it, and you go back to your office.
All right, staying on the job train. Would you rather accidentally send a nude or naughty picture to your dad or to your boss?
Dad.
Oh, my dad.
This is a question that for men is a non-question.
Yeah.
Well, for starters, my dad probably wouldn't even know how to open it. So
Yeah.
I'd definitely be dad.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah, a little bit more forgiving, I think, is your dad. Would you rather begin every sentence with "Hey, idiot," or end every sentence with "Haha, I was just kidding"?
Oh, hey, idiot, all fucking day.
You're up giving a presentation at work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it has to be "Hey, idiot," not only for the comedy, but if you genuinely ended every sentence with "haha, just kidding," like you wouldn't be able to communicate with people.
Yeah.
And if you started every sentence with "Hey, idiot," that'd be a pretty steep hill to climb, but once you got to the top of it, you'd be okay. Hey,
Yeah,
idiot, I love you.
The "haha, I was just kidding" thing is like nobody would ever know, right? What is actual or
Yeah.
What
Son,
is
were you
real
drinking
or-
tonight? No. Haha, just kidding.
yes, haha, just kidding.
That's pretty funny, though. I like that.
All right. Would you rather talk like Yoda or breathe like Darth Vader?
Talk like Yoda, because if I breathe like Vader, people are just going to ask me if I'm having allergies.
Yeah, a lot more questions to answer if you're just walking around making James Earl Jones noises passively. Right? Like, if you talk like Yoda, at least you can shut the fuck up until, like, you actually need to say something.
Well, and if you talk like Yoda, everyone knows Yoda, right? I mean, I know everyone knows Darth Vader, but if you're talking like Yoda, people will automatically know, right? But if you are breathing like Darth Vader, the first question people are gonna ask you is,
okay?
"What's wrong?"
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that would be horrible. Ugh.
Right on. I got a couple size ones here. Would you rather own a hamster the size of a hippo or a hippo the size of a hamster?
I mean,
Is
what
the
I...
hippo like the hippo's the meanest creature like in the world. Is the hippo that your hamster-sized hippo? Is it still like a huge asshole?
That'd be so funny. You have it in like a terrarium. It's like,
Yeah, but if you had a hippo-sized hamster, like where the fuck would you put it? Outside?
Yeah.
Nah, no
Could
shot.
you
It's like
imagine-
busting through the
The
fence.
big wheel that you would
a big
use?
wheel.
You
digging all
could
over your yard.
power your hometown.
Oh, I'm going with the hippo. Well, I love
The
hippos.
mini hippo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are
mini
you
hippo.
kidding me?
For sure.
Yeah.
That is funny though, the idea of like a tiny little hippo just running around a house like chomping shit.
Yeah. Getting pissed and like, you know, you have like a little river system or a water system. It's like swimming around and like, yeah, that'd be pretty funny. All right, last one. Would you rather fight a whale-sized Danny DeVito or 20 Danny DeVito-sized whales?
Are we in water or on land?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Are we on water or are we on land? That's amazing.
I think I'd rather fight the Danny DeVito-sized whale because you could just hide, you know, punch him in the head.
There's 20 of them.
Hide. No, the Danny DeVito, or sorry, I'd rather fight the whale-sized Danny DeVito.
Whale-sized Danny DeVito.
Wait, a whale-sized Danny DeVito?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask
Or
ChatGPT.
Good old AI. I need
Yeah.
to trim this out.
I'm definitely going Danny DeVito.
ChatGPT would rather face 20 Danny DeVito-sized whales. While it may sound like a daunting task, their reduced size would make them more manageable opponents. Plus, I could potentially find a way to peacefully interact with them, perhaps even befriending these unique creatures.
Huh.
Not
That'd
bad.
be logical AI.
Not bad.
Yeah, there is my that's my would you rather. That
It's
was
funny.
pretty funny.
I like that one.
Do we got a closing question brought to us by?
Yeah, we've got a couple. I've got one interesting one came out of the AI generator, and I've got one that I thought of. First one out of the AI generator. We may have done this one before. I don't remember. If we have, we can jump straight to my other one. If you had the ability to instantly learn any one skill or talent, what skill would you choose?
I don't think we might have had a language one like this. Instantly learn one talent or skill.
I'll start. For me, it's something like carpentry, right? I think that's something that would be
Yeah.
practical for me, and it's something that is a skill that I could use to help others. So I think that'd be also a very useful skill to have a mastery in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my brain immediately went to like welding, but
Yeah.
then it went to playing piano.
Wow, I like that
choose
one.
Playing piano.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going the musical instrument as well. I would go harmonica.
Cool.
Harmonica? Why harmonica?
There's just something about it, you know. Whenever I hear Billy Joel's Piano Man, it just puts me in a good mood.
Yeah,
Whenever I
it's-
hear,
there's-
any song that has a harmonica, it just puts me in a good mood, man.
You could play with a lot of groups. You could play like bluegrass and blues and some jazz.
Yeah, it'd be like the guy, I don't remember what band he was in, but the guy that had like the bandolier of harmonicas that are all different pitches. Just
That was
pull
Blues
one out.
Traveler.
Thank you. Yeah. Just pull one out, put it in, pull out another one. Be awesome.
He was from Seattle.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he get caught with a whole bunch of guns in his trunk?
Yeah, driving to Eastern Washington. Yeah.
All right. Well, that took a left turn.
But
Yeah,
John
so
Popper.
last question. You guys ready?
yeah.
Yep.
What is something that you really enjoy that would surprise a 20-year-old you?
Country music.
Same.
Hmm.
Actually, that's a really good call, Nate. And for me, even a 30-year-old me would be surprised
Mhm.
about that. But I think that's the right answer for me too.
Yard work for me.
There's something nice about having a completed yard that's all
It's
trimmed
just-
up. Bushes
It's
are trimmed.
therapeutic.
Yeah. The like cutting everything down and then raking it all up at the end and have that like finality of it, and then like you just look at it, you're like, fuck yeah. I get it. Speaks to me, Thomas.
There we go. That's the show.
I'll come over and trim your hedges anytime. Heyo.
Okay.
Well, I had a lot of fun today. That was a good episode. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah.
Nice to see everybody. We'll not see you tomorrow at softball because of a bye week.
Yep.
But I have a tour of my daughter's kindergarten tomorrow, so that'll be pretty fun.
Ooh.
It's in kindergarten already.
Yeah, she turned 5 on last Saturday.
Mm.
Crazy. Yeah, goes fast.
Happy birthday, Hannah.
Happy birthday, Hannah. Thanks, everybody. Shout out Kaylee. Fuck Flip. Party people.
Party people.
Peace out.
Keep
Shout
it real.
out Brad.
Hey, yeah,
Keep
Brad.
listening, Brad.
Shout out Brad.
Favorite bartender.